Today is my project share for the Bringing Back Basic Gray collaboration. Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome. And it's actually more than a project share. I'm actually going to put a few cards together with you guys today. But this Bringing Back Basic Gray is a collaboration that I'm doing with my friend Sarah, who's crafting and relaxing here on YouTube, and Kathy, who is Stampin' Cat over on Instagram. And we just pull out our hoarded Basic Gray papers and play with them each month. Recently, I got some Happy Mail from Linda McWinry, and it included some Basic Gray papers that were trimmed down to 6x6. So I thought I would go ahead and use some of those on some cards. I thought they're perfect patterns, like very masculine, so I thought they would be great for some Father's Day cards. So I thought I would, since this is a small collaboration, we have a little more liberty or freedom with, what we can do as far as time limits. So I just thought I would put together some cards with you guys today and play with the new to me Basic Gray paper. So here I'm just kind of giving you a quick flip through of the 4 papers I have of Basic Gray, and then I did pull out some green and brown cardstocks that I thought might go with it. I am going to be using some sketches today for my cards. The first one I'm using is Sunday Sketches number 22. And I did go ahead and pre-cut kind of all my card pieces and pre-plan them just so that it is a shorter process video since it is still part of a collaboration. So I'm going to fishtail some of these little skinny strips that I pulled out. This is one of the kind of like a muted green color. I love Basic Gray papers, but at the time it was probably easier, but now it's harder to find other cardstocks, like the right shades to go with the Basic Gray shades of things. So I just try and do the best I can with what I have in my stash, as far as they're like a little more grungy, I guess. So I probably could have pulled out my inks and aged some of them a little bit to make them match the Basic Gray shades a little bit better, but I think it's okay. These papers had such a masculine feel that I decided to go with Father's Day cards. And I decided to pull out the new stamp set that I got from Not Too Shabby Shop, which is called Magic Spring Wishes. And I'm showing you that here, that I pre-stamped a bunch of the Happy Father's Day sentiments. And then I also used, it's a Lawn Fawn stamp set, and there's also a die set that goes with it that cuts out the circle for the multiple sentiments that are on the stamp set. And then you can also stamp and cut out some of the other little shapes that are part of the stamp set. So I decided to play with the Father's Day one today, and Father's Day is coming up, so kind of felt that the papers and the time lent itself to make Father's Day cards. So here's cards 1 and 2. So for the next set of cards, I'm using the Sweet Sunday sketch number 220. This one I'm going with that geometric square paper as my card mat. And then again, this is one of those greens where it wasn't perfect, but it was the best match I had. So that's what we went with. And looking back now, I really probably should have done some inking around the edges on some of these anyway, just to kind of help separate the patterns, especially on this one. I feel like that strip kind of blends into the card mat pattern. So, but it's okay. What's done is done, right? So just adding my sentiment onto these, and all of my cards are A2, and I'm using white card bases. There was a little bit of white in some of the patterns, and so that's why I decided to go with my standard white, and then also to bring in some more of that white with the sentiment. And as per usual, I try to use strips on the inside of my card just to help use up some scraps. And it just adds just that little bit of decoration on the inside as well. So there's cards 3 and 4. Zoom in a little bit for you. Next set of cards, I'm using the MFT sketch number 327. And just adding a fishtail to the bottom of the pattern piece that's called for in the sketch. And then using some more of that muted green paper as like kind of the mat for this piece. And then I realized after I got the glue on that, oh wait, I need to round the corners on that green piece. So luckily I was able to do that before my glue dried, and I'm just going to go ahead and round the corners on everything that I need to round the corners on, but so I don't forget again. So just adding my glue here to the back side of that one and laying it down. And I will say the Bringing Back Basic Gray collaboration, it's not about using up everything. This is the one collaboration I'm doing that's not about using something up. It's just about pulling it out and enjoying it. So Kathy and Sarah and I love Basic Gray papers. Basic Gray no longer makes papers. We've been hoarding this paper for a long time, and we decided that it's time to pull it out and start enjoying it. So we're not trying to use anything up. We're just playing with it every month, seeing what we can do with some of those papers. We're enjoying them in a project instead of just being stored away in a drawer somewhere. So these little black pieces, this was adhesive cardstock at one point that I had scraps left of, and it's been in my stash long enough it's no longer adhesive, so I pulled the backing off and then added some glue so that it would be adhesive again. So on this particular card, I decided to bring in some black. There was some pops of black in the pattern, and so I just decided to kind of break up the browns and the greens with some black. So I just need to add these to my card base. And I do tend to, once I pick up my ATG gun, I do tend to do a handful of gluing at one time just to speed things up. Sometimes it works and sometimes it ends up being more of a mess, I guess, just because if I don't have it out of the way, one of the pieces that already has adhesive on, if I don't put it out of the way enough, then, it'll stick to me. But for the most part, this does help me to speed things up. So here is 5 and 6. For the next cards, I'm using reverse confetti sketch number 25. And for this one, I had decided once I had kind of cut everything and laid it out that I really wanted some of that green to be a matte layer on my sentiment circle. So I did go ahead and punch out circles from the center of my card mat there, knowing it was going to be covered. So I know Christy Marcotte does that all the time. For the most part, I don't worry about it because I have an abundance of cardstock, but on this particular, I didn't have a lot of this pattern or this color, so I did want to kind of preserve what I had of that. So again, bringing in some black just for a pop. I say a pop of color. Black's, I guess, technically not. I don't know. Is black considered a color? I don't remember. But we'll go ahead and layer up my sentiments onto that same muted green that the card mat is. And layer that down. It doesn't add a lot, it just gives a little bit more weight to the sentiment. Because I know that muted green is pretty light, so it's not like a pop, but it does just give the sentiment a little more weight and help it stand out a little bit. So I thought these cards needed a little bit more something at the top. So I decided to bring in some more scraps of black cardstock and do a little fishtail flag at the top there. And again, this is a kind of tribute to Christy Marcotte. She does this a lot on her cards just to add that extra little touch. it just felt too light at the top, like it needed something to blend a little better for me, like with the rest of the card. So I am happy with that, and now I'm just pulling in a scrap onto the inside. This was a wider scrap that I just cut down and made it a little narrower. And there's cards 7 and 8. So for the last set of cards, I'm using the Operation Ride Home sketch number 184. And all of the card sketches will be linked in the description box below for you if you want to check them out. And so this one was nice because I could use one sheet of that pattern paper for both cards. According to the card sketch, that pattern was only like 3 by 5.5 inches. So I could just trim the little bit off of my 6 by 6 piece, and it made decorated 2 card fronts for me. So brought in that strip of green on the left hand side there, and then I found in my stash a couple pieces that were like pre-cut brown cardstock, so you can see they're 2 different shades, and that's okay. So here again, I decided I needed to add something to the top just to kind of pull in some more of that brown. So we'll add my brown strip down at the bottom and then add my sentiment on top of that. And then we'll come in and add some fishtails to the bottom of those little pieces and this, I just used whatever ends were left from those 2 strips that I had found in my stash. So they're not the same size, and that's okay. They were sitting off to the side there, so I decided to go ahead and use up those last little bits. And I do like how that pulls the brown down through the card then. So then for the inside, I have some of that muted green. I had a strip of that left, so I just trimmed it into a little thinner strip and then decided to add kind of just an angled edge on one side. And that's cards 9 and 10. Okay, here are the 10 cards I made using that kind of miscellaneous basic gray paper. Thank you so much, Linda, for sharing this paper with me. It was fun to use. And I made these 10 cards, and I do still have some paper left to play with in the future. So hope you guys enjoyed. Please be sure to check out Sarah and Kathy, who will be linked in the description box below. And thank you again, Linda, for your sweet happy mail. And thank you so much to you all for taking the time to be with me today. I hope you all have a very crafty day.